So, Jim, this is an incident which you sent me, which was is it Riza Jackson? Have I said that right?
I think it's Raya Jackson or yeah, something like that.
Now, there's been an incident, of course, which has happened at a wrestling show. We're thinking we're just going to discuss this and stuff like that. We're not going to show the clip for, do you know what I mean? We don't want to get copyrighted, and some people might find it uncomfortable and stuff. We will put links in it so people can go check out in their own time and stuff like that. But I just want to promise we are not obviously, going to play the video because I'm going to be honest with you, Jim. There's not many things which shock me.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those videos that really puts a dampener on the public perception of professional wrestling. Obviously, if you show this to someone's parent, if there's a young kid or something like that, like a teenager that says, "Oh, mom, dad, can I go watch a wrestling show?" They're like, "What's wrestling?" And the show, and then the parents look up wrestling, and that's the clip that comes up, and they see that a guy potentially has died, then it's not going to paint the wrestling in a good light, is it? Sort of thing.
Not at all and stuff like that. And this is one thing where it's a crossover with MMA and wrestling and stuff like that. We see this in WWE, which obviously everything's strictly better and like that, but it's not good, man. Do you know what I mean? This I've got to be honest. When I watched it, I'm like, what the hell is going off?
Well, funnily enough, I've watched a clip of what supposedly set this up, and what it is that Stuart Smith or Psycho Stu was outside with Roger Jackson, who, if anyone doesn't know, is Rampage Jackson's son, and he has smacked a can of beer or whatever it is over Jackson's head. It's like a joke thing, like a kayfabe thing. So then, during Smith's match, Jackson has jumped into the ring. Supposedly, talk backstage is that he was supposed to jump in, give him a double leg takedown, and throw some kayfabe punches. He's got into the ring. Instead of doing a double leg takedown, he's ended up doing like a double leg
Power slam.
It looked more like an Alabama slam, to be fair. And then he's just rained punches down and like legitimately hit him. And I think it took about 50. It felt like about 20 minutes, to be fair, and about 15 seconds until wrestlers actually intervened and stopped him.
Absolutely. So just give you a bit of context what's happened. This is from Sean Rossap, who's obviously a reliable source for wrestling. He says, based on what I've heard, the spot with Raja Jackson at Knox Pro Wrestling was planned. However, Raja Jackson knocked the person out, ring named Psycho Stu, following up with a lot of heavy punches to Psycho Stu, which were not planned, and to do that kind of damage. Stu was rushed to hospital with serious injuries. We are working to find out more and obviously have Stu obviously in our thoughts and stuff like that. I mean, it's just I don't even know what to. It just makes me sick as a wrestling fan. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that because we spoke about in the watch them we just recorded there. Do you know what I mean? Wrestlers' safety. Do you know what I mean? That's the key thing when it comes to wrestling. But I don't get it with this.
Yeah, it's it's definitely one of those where, like I say, it puts a real dampener on the public and media perception of professional wrestling. But the problem that you have is that Jackson isn't a trained wrestler; he's an MMA fighter. If you put an MMA fighter in a wrestling ring, something's bound to go wrong because these guys are used to legitimately fighting for real, sort of thing. These guys are in an octagon, in a ring, in a setting where they don't stop until the other person is down and out and not cooperating, sort of thing.
It also shows how bad it is when you've got was it like several wrestlers had to literally, restrain him in a way?
I think there were about 6 wrestlers that ended up jumping in and like pulling him away, and it was still trying to go for him. So, but I think there's been a lot of speculation that that Jackson's obviously snapped, taking the performance too seriously. There's also talks of steroids, like steroid abuse being chucked about, sort of thing. So we don't know what.
We just want to point out, by the way, these are all accusations. This is not facts. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, but yeah, I mean, when you obviously first watched it, do you know what I mean? How did it make you feel?
At first, I thought it were a work. At first, I thought it were, oh, they've set this up as a thing to set up a feud between these two guys or whatever. And I saw him do the slam, and I thought, oh, that seemed a bit real,
Stiff.
and then they were legitimately hitting it. I'm thinking, he's hitting him. What? The first thing I thought was, what the hell's the referee doing? He stood there doing nothing. You need to get your arm around the dude's neck and pull him off.
Yeah, no, exactly, and stuff like that. I mean, it makes you sad, you know what I mean, when you see it.
It's definitely, mate. I mean, I think it's one of them shows that like there were even kids in the audience, so that's going to put them off for life.
Exactly, and stuff like that. Now, the weird thing is, or should I say, not even weird, but of course, Rampage Jackson's obviously put out a statement. I want to get your thoughts on this because there's a couple of talking points from it, and I just want to read what it says. So, I want to clear up the misinformation about my son Raja, and I do apologize for saying his name wrong, but I'm saying everything. I've been confirmed that the wrestler Stu Hart Smith, aka Psycho Stu, is awake and stable. He was unexpectedly hit in the side of the head by him moments before Smith's match. Raja was told that he could get into the payback in the ring. I thought it was part of the show. It was a bad judgment and a work that went wrong. Raja is an MMA fighter and not a pro wrestler, and had no business being involved in an event like this. I don't condone my son's actions at all, capitals. He suffered a concussion from sparring only 2 days ago and had no business doing anything remotely close to physical contact. As a father, I'm deeply concerned with his health and the well-being of Mr. Smith. That being said, I'm very upset that any of this has happened. My main concern now is that Mr. Smith will make a speedy recovery. I apologize on his behalf and to kick and to kick for the situation. So yeah, it wasn't even streamed on like YouTube and stuff like that. It was Kick, which I think is like, is that a streaming platform? I know I've heard of it.
I think it's a streaming service that the promotion uses.
Now, there's a couple of talking points. If I've seen this one, it's like he said there that he's got a concussion and stuff like that. So why would he agree, to go into like this sort of thing if he's got a concussion?
That was going to be my main point, mate. At the end of the day, if the guy knows that he's recovering from a concussion, why is he agreeing to step into a ring where he knows that his judgment is going to be faded? It's going to be not entirely coherent, sort of thing. So yeah, it's for me. There's arguments on both sides for blame. First of all, the guy in question, Jackson, and also the promoter who was actually put him in that situation. The promoter should have said, we can do a sort of angle where Stu comes out, gets in your face, you shove him, that's it. We'll leave it at that. We're not going to let you get into the ring and get physical, because at the end of the day, if Jackson is a trained MMA fighter, if he hits you in the temple correctly, you are dead. You will die. So we could have been looking at a manslaughter at this point. So it's just not worth the risk, really.
No, exactly. And Dave Meltz, I know, obviously, thingy, and even he said it's probably the worst thing he's seen and stuff like that. And we know he's obviously seen a lot of stuff. So to come from somebody like Dave, do you know what I mean? It's pretty serious. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's deadly serious. I mean, this could end up where Stu could sue Jackson himself, could sue the promoter, could sue the company. It could end up getting the whole company shut down, really, because if the fans also putting claims of unsafe working environments, if the fellow wrestlers do as well, it could end up with shutting down the entire company.
You kind of obviously answered my question there, Jimmy. What could come out of this? Like you said, lawsuits, promotions shut down, people arrested, even time, do you know what I mean? Because the main thing is now, and I agree with what Rampage said there, the main thing is now is hopefully that Stuart Smith, do you know what I mean, it recovers.
Definitely, mate. I mean, straight away. I mean, if you people that are watching, you got to think to yourself and ask yourself, what would you do if you were in his position? If you were told by a promoter you're going to go to this kid who's a trained MMA fighter, who we all know MMA fighters are trained to kill. They are trained to hurt someone that they are put up against until they cannot get up. So what's that say? If that person has then come into the ring, into your profession, and done something like this to you, where he's knocked you out and then repeatedly beaten you until there's been upwards of 15 people pulling you off, the first thing I'd do is I'd sue the guy. I'd sue the guy involved. I'd sue my promoter, and I'd sue the company.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, something's gone wrong. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the one thing we need to establish. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? There's definitely
yeah,
there's something somebody's failed somewhere. And that's what all I can think of.
definitely. I think there's either a miscommunication or there's, like I say, whether whether the substance abuse, if it's an after effect of a concussion or whatever, it needs to be investigated. Really,
No, 100%, mate. I 100% agree. So, and obviously, I just want us to have a little rant and stuff like that. But what what can we learn from this? You know what I mean?
I think the biggest thing that you can take away from this, mate, is don't involve people in professional wrestling that aren't trained professional wrestlers, unless they've got very close, very deep, basically instruction from people that you can trust.
Yeah. No, I agree with stuff like that. And it boils down to what we've been speaking about for the past like 10 minutes: safety.
Definitely, mate. I mean, it's kind of in the same bubble, but I remember when Rampage Jackson himself actually debuted in TNA back in
Yep.
Impact when he
Yep.
was part of the main event Mafia. You had Samoa Joe, you had Magnus, who was now Nick Aldis, you had Kurt Angle, and you had Sting. You had four guys there. Samoa Joe could kill you with his finger, and Kurt
Hmm.
Angle is an Olympic gold medalist. If Rampage got out of control, them two could easily subdue him. You had a young lad here who's got into MMA, who's one of the deadliest young fighters in the world, and you let him go, and you've let him off the leash with with just a guy at a wrestling show. What did you expect was going to happen?
The one more thing I was thinking is the Daniel Puder incident with Kurt Angle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's another guy that took things too far. He obviously slapped a Kimura onto Angle, could have seriously injured him, and then we all know what happened at the Royal Rumble because of that. There's all sorts of talk that Guerrero, Benoit, and Hardcore Holly, which obviously you look at Hardcore Holly and just think, oh, he's just the epitome of cuddliness. I mean,
No,
it,
not even close.
exactly. They actually asked to be put in between Pura being in the ring so that they could slap him around a bit, which obviously they did, which caused Pura to end up leaving.
No, exactly, and stuff like that. But again, I mean, this is why I always hate, when you see like MMA mixed with WWE because it just does never ever end well.
No, apart from when obviously the the MMA stars are in the audience. I mean, you watch SmackDown and Raw. Obviously, WWE's got the partnership with UFC because of TKO, and you see like Channel Summon, you see Israel Adesanya, all these big wrestling fans in the crowd and what have you. It's always great to see those guys sort of thing because at the end of the day, that's what they're going to do. They're going to push the partnership between UFC and WWE, but that is the absolute zenith of what the partnership needs to be. That they're in the audience. That's it.
Okay. So, any final thoughts?
I think that promotions need to be more careful as to what they're pitching to the talent and what they're actually wanting the talent to do because this needs to never ever happen again.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I just wanted to jump on here just to talk about it because it is pretty bad. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like I said, I mean, we're not going to show the clip, but we'll put it obviously links in the description. But I will be advised it does look pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not something that you'll want to watch more than once because it will. I watched it first thing this morning when it came from my Twitter or X, and I watched it and I quite loudly, verbally went, "Oh my god!" And my wife turned around like, "What?" And I showed her. And my wife's not massively into wrestling. She likes watching it with me. She likes watching WWE every now and again. And even she went, "That's not right. That shouldn't have happened." So for someone that's not even into wrestling, saying that it shouldn't have happened, that says a lot.
100%, mate. 100%. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, guys, you know what I mean? Comment on this, what you obviously think and stuff like that. As always, you can obviously support all both our shows, Wrestle Wellbeing on Instagram, Magic of Wrestling on Instagram, YouTube. We're absolutely everywhere. Stay tuned. We've got loads of interviews and stuff like that. And yeah, James, I'll let you have the final say.
Support local wrestling and support mental health.
100%. Cheers for watching, guys.